Yo, yo, yo. What is happening, people? Good morning. Well, no, probably not good morning for anybody. Good afternoon. Oh, good evening. Hold on. Come on. Hey, how long is the delay here? Hold on. Can you see me? Or no? There we go. All right. Took a little bit. There was a bit of a delay there. Sorry, I wasn't sure. I couldn't tell when I was actually live. It seems like there was a good 30 seconds of delay or something like that, but we're here now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are we doing today? Connor, KF, Hydri, Corey, Bruno Fernandez, Nice as Doom, and more. How are we today? How are we doing? Naveen, everybody. How are we? How are we? Hope you all doing well. Araki, DV Cooper, Srinath, Paul, let's go. Whew. I always think we get to the end of the season, some games finish, and I think every time I'm thinking it's gonna be quiet a little bit now, right? Like things are gonna be a little bit calm. And then I forget that it's United and it never changes. Chris, Issa, ALIR, Sayram, Michael, Aiden, Ward, Ziad, Zane, Founder, Uranbira, okay, Poez, Simon, Britannic, Mike, Anonymous, Mango, Gary, Aiden, Surav, Greg, Asi, Fame, all of you, Smokey, my dude. Yeah, you know what they say, it's always darkest before it is pitch black. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. But it's good to see you all again. Good to see you all here on this fine Saturday afternoon. I'm a little tired. I didn't get the best sleep. But that's okay. From the Faroe Islands, very nice. Oh man, okay. This is a rebuild now. It can't get worse. Those are the famous last words of the truly damned. Can you talk about PSR won't be an issue? Depends. Depends. So happy Garnacho is leaving, my lad. You are right. You are right. Yeah, Barry, we'll talk about that. Sure. 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 Take long weekend. No, no, it's all good. I mean, this is fun. This is fun for me. Is it fun for you? I'm having fun. We got a lot to talk about. So we will definitely get into all of it. But obviously the elephant in the room, the first thing, the biggest thing, the main news of today is that you should like the video, like the stream. There's a few hundred people here, only 24 likes. We can do better. I was listening to Owen and them on The View to do that. When they're sitting there pushing the likes, pumping the likes, everybody seems to imply that it makes a big difference. You got to get at least like 33% of the people watching live to click on the like button. So click it. Come on, guys. It's not so hard. You're right there. Just tap. I promise I'll make it worth your while. I think. First live for the final. Since props to you to be able to keep up the grind. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Um, it is, but you got to do it. Every time I think I'm out, pull me back in. Yeah. So, yep, the biggest news of the day. There you go. Thank you guys. The biggest news of the day is, of course, the Alejandro Garnacho situation. As of today, Ruben Amorim in a meeting with the players and I assume playing staff as well, informed Alejandro Garnacho that he needs to find a new club. Not you can go, not this is the price if you want to leave, not explore your options, but get out of my club, basically. And absolutely, absolutely, it is as intense, it is as deliberate, and it is as bad as it sounds. A lot worse, actually. I mean, if some of the things that I've heard are true, and I'm quite certain they are, because I trust the people to share them, but they're not necessarily all my there you go, all my things to share on videos in specific. But it was in front of everybody. Yes, that's in the article. It was a lot worse than that. It was a lot worse than just you can leave. Way worse than that. But I think that's the emotion, the anger, the intensity spilling over. But I think that it's very intentional, sending a message to the squad. I'm in charge, and meaning it, and meaning it, and having the full backing to do so. This is not a squabble over social media. This is not anything like that. This is, um, a manager laying the law down. A manager laying the law down and saying, look, you can't keep doing this. This has been going on for months and months and months and months and months, this situation. And honestly, it's been a player that has been skirting by, escaping, discipline here and there, but so many incidents that have occurred. At the same time, obviously Ruben Amorim gave him every shot and every opportunity for this season to perform, to do better, to play, to be in the team and everything. Um, and and so he's there. He's been able to play. He's gotten his minutes. He got every opportunity to prove that, he had it right, to prove and to earn his spot and to earn his place at United, and he didn't. And he didn't. That's the simple fact of it. Um, Viva Ruben. Thank you. Yeah, Money Mouse. See you later. Thanks for being here. This is the second manager who's done this too. Yep. And like I've said many times, I called it out under Eric Ten Hag. I could not believe that it was allowed to continue at that point in time. The issues with him, the issues with his brother, um, the issues with leaking, the issues with stories, the issues with social media. It's just all bad. We had issues back in December. You had issues walking off the pitch after being subbed just a few months ago. But this situation, I believe I did hint at it last week, and I said on the podcast with on Friday with the guys at United View. I said, look, a little bit of background on this because I felt Amorim made a really big mistake. Um, I think Amorim made a really big mistake in the final because I thought, why are you picking Garnacho in the final? He is a better player than Rasmus Højlund. He should have been in the final, in my opinion, from a purely a tactical standpoint. However, this is the problem with having players like this. Before the final, in the week leading up to it, there were issues presented between Ruben Amorim and Alejandro Garnacho. Simon Kelly, if Garnacho and Bruno for 150 mil, how much extra money? We could talk about that in just a minute. Just a minute, okay? Just a minute. Um, you know, he had issues with him in that. And specifically, I know I did say in some of these videos and things that Ruben Amorim went in on needing the club to be brave, to make changes, to do everything before the final. In the week in the lead up, he was so upset about West Ham. He was so upset about some of the things that happened. So upset about some of the effort, the energy levels, the attitudes, the things like that. But there was an issue there that came to a head where he could not play Garnacho without undermining himself. And this, when you have an issue with a player who's already upset because they're on the bench for singular games, or that feel like they'd earned the place to play in the final, and then you're not picking them and telling them they have to prove it in the final game, and they respond poorly to that. Well, when you have players who respond poorly to that, it creates a real problem. And it makes it so you can't even, and this is the problems that have been that Ruben Amorim has to deal with. But these are the problems that complicate everything. You have the final game of the season, the biggest one, something that could mean everything. You can't pick a player you'd like to pick because they were too much of a dickhead to you. What is that? How selfish can you be? To put yourself ahead of the team and create this type of problem in selection, this type of problem in the dressing room, this type of problem for the manager, this type of situation. It's selfish. It's me before the team, and that's exactly how he presented himself in the interview after the game as well. Is that it's all about me, right? So, it comes down to these are the problems that you have. These are the problems that you have with certain people in the dressing room, with United, when you cannot even make these choices because of someone creating an issue right then and there. And if you do, then you're getting fully undermined in your control of the dressing room and your leadership and your ability to do that. And that's crazy. It's like what, like making a problem for the team and for the manager ahead of a final is why he's so upset about the situation and how it led to this. As obviously a building of different things, but it was a part of that. It was a part of what led to this, to here was things even within the last couple of weeks. And so, it was already a problem before the final. So the comments were not surprising, unfortunately. But yeah, that is what it is. Garnacho does not have the mentality to want to win. Sorry. That's just not true. You'd be a team player if you had the mentality to want to win. Here's the fact, okay? Here's the facts of it. There are players who are selfish that need to be selfish. Why? Because they're the best player on the pitch. When they are selfish, it helps the team because they are helping the team to win. There are players who are selfish who are crap. Those players do not help the team win. It's all about the team. When someone is really, really, really good, there is a selfishness they must have that will help them do more, be more, and everything, because it's better for them to do it than to give it to somebody else. There are players not at that level that think they are, and selfishness in them is not something that benefits the team, and it is not about winning. It is about self. That's all. And the comments afterwards imply that. Who cares if you didn't play or not? The team didn't win. It's irrelevant. You don't see anybody else talking about it. You just don't. And that's an issue. We've seen this in 2 years. One assist from Garnacho to Højlund. That's insane. When you think about it, it's absolutely insane that has been allowed to happen. That type of play, it shows up in your game and in how anything can happen. James, I remember Ronaldo being dropped and coming off the bench and scoring a goal against Borough. He used to prove it on the pitch. Right, that's what you got to do. Owen Thompson, how much could we spend with PSR if we sell him for 40, 50 million? Do you think we can get that? Let's talk about that in a second because there was another question too. It is what it is. I noticed bad body language from Højlund towards Garnacho, sure. And regardless of like the issues with Højlund as a player, which there are, obviously, there are, no doubt about that. No excuses can be made too much for Højlund's football itself because it's poor. But at the same time, if I'm Højlund, I don't think that guy's ever passing me the ball. And that can definitely mess up the way that you think, the way that you act, the way that you move on the pitch when you're playing with somebody. Because I do remember Marcus Rashford getting assists to Rasmus Højlund. I think he got 4 or 5 last season.
I do remember Rashford being able to do it, and I do remember Rasmus being able to get on the end of some of Rashford's assists, okay? So that's not an excuse. Players are responsible for what they've done in that season, and Højlund's been poor this season, done terrible, terrible things. But as a footballer, he's done terrible things. He's not been good at all. But it does affect the way that somebody thinks. There's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no doubt about that. That it does affect the way people think. It affects the way your wingbacks want to make runs. It affects the way that everybody around you does it, because people are wanting to. People will always somewhat react to the patterns that they see around them to try to make the connections between players and things like that. And so, it's crappy. Um, Either way. But regardless of that, look, could Garnacho go somewhere else and be better? I don't care. It's the same conversation I'll have with McTominay, but for totally different reasons. Um, could Garnacho go somewhere else and do well? Sure. So could Antony. Doesn't make what Antony did at United any better. Got plenty of chances, wasn't able to perform at this level. You go somewhere else, you perform better, fine. That's okay. It's all good. It's all good. That's fine. Doesn't mean you do it here. Jose Mourinho said, where they play, how they play, if they play. And, people get a bit of confirmation bias over the few players who've departed and gone on to do great things because they went to great situations and did really well with it. And that is great for them. Angie, welcome to the Pro Muppet. Thank you. Jesse Lingard didn't leave and blow the world up. Andres Pereira didn't leave and blow the world up. Pogba didn't leave and blow the world up. There's plenty of players better than the guys who have left that have been successful that have gone on to do nothing, you know, um, and some that have. And it's all about situations. Um, you know, um, it's all about the right situations. And one of the things that I will say, about this, and then I will get to those questions, the donations about the money. Thank you for sending those. I will absolutely answer those. I apologize if I'm taking some time, but I got to keep through my train of thought in general. Because it was interesting seeing like the McTominay thing, because I'm somebody who had massive criticism of McTominay. And I still would. If McTominay was in our midfield deep, um, okay, that's fine. He would still be the same player. He's still the same player at Napoli. He's done an extremely good job doing what he does best and being platformed there to score goals. Same as he did for last season. And that's really great. That's really great that you are able to do that. We don't really have that possibility here. But what is ironic about it, I will add, and where I have also learned on this too myself. I've learned many things. Like I always, I'm always happy to be wrong and learn more things. And one of the things I've definitely learned is that in very many instances, there are players that are not good enough for what you want, that might be good enough for what somebody else wants, instead of saying they're shit or they're bad or they're all of this. We had 10 years of McTominay. What he did here doesn't change going to Napoli and doing a great job there at what he was asked to do there. Here, he was asked to be practically a center back and a midfielder. Like whether he was misprofiled or not, fine. There's still not really that position that exists in English football. The sort of two striker thing where a second guy gets up next to the striker. Watch every one of his goals sitting in the box. Every one of his goals sitting in the box, getting on the end of crosses. We still don't really have that role outside of the actual number 9 itself. But it's good for him that he could do that, but it doesn't change what we've seen. That being said, Scott McTominay didn't show the type of attitude issues and things that we're talking about here. So in this case, it's not even like a question. I won't regret a single thing. If you cannot put the work in, if you cannot have the attitude to succeed at United, if you cannot have the right mentality at United, then that's just too bad. That's just too bad. But I will say what is ironic is seeing the love in for McTominay all over Twitter from people who hate Ugarte, and they're doing the exact same thing. Saying, oh, there's a player platformed correctly, did really well, but he's only good at a few things. And that's why I'm saying I've learned. That's where I'm saying I've learned. Because there are players in this squad who are not that bad, but they're not in the right position. They're not playing in the right way. They're not being platformed in a way that suits them. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll make it here or maybe they won't. But they're doing the same thing, saying, "Oh my God, all these guys." I watched a guy sitting there retweeting every one of my things. "You dickhead, you hated McTominay. You dickhead, you did this." And you read down, "Ugarte shit, Ugarte shit, Ugarte shit." You're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It's different players with different skill sets, different concepts, different things they're good at, different things that they're bad at, and you'll find a way to criticize them, um, one way or another, and then they'll go on and do something else, and you'll give them a bunch of praise. It's amazing to see it. Amazing to see it. Angie, James, I'm worried about one thing. I'm sure Ineos this year will be more ruthless with the clear out, especially after the last 4 years, but getting too many players, getting 5, 6 new starters almost always takes time to settle in. Sure. So let's get to some thoughts on this. No, I don't think McTominay is better than Ugarte. I think he's just a completely different player. Basically a forward, which is fine. Not a midfielder. If you're asking me who's a better midfielder, I would definitely tell you who it is. If you're asking me who's going to go and score, great. Good for you. They're totally different, but it's about respecting what each person is good at and saying, are they good? But does that work for us? Or are they too limited? You have multi-tool players, to use a baseball term. Some players are one tool, two tool, three tool, four tool, five tool. You get 4 or 5 tool players, they can do everything. They can fit into any squad. You can find them anywhere. Sometimes there's 1 and 2 tool players that are super useful in certain systems and not super useful in others. And it's about getting them right. That doesn't mean they're bad players. It means you have to get that right. So anyway, regardless, yes. So let's talk about the money. Then we'll talk about Bruno. We'll talk about the rest. We'll talk about the rest of everything. Number one, the question was, if we sold Bruno for 100 and we sold Garnacho for 50, what could we do with that kind of money? Well, a significant amount of it. We could do a significant amount with that kind of money. There's no doubt about that. Realistically, it depends how you want to think about it. In a 1-year period, no, they are nothing alike each other. But that's sort of my point: is people will do this game of how they want to do it, and they don't see that they're doing the same thing. But for, like I say, if you like the type of player, you'll see the positives. If you don't like the type of player, you won't, and that's fine. But it's the same thing. It all moves through the same thing. Regardless, 150 million in one window. Technically, you could go and spend 300-400 million, and you would be fine on PSR and all of that. Technically, you can. However, it's not a smart idea to do that, because remember, whenever you go and spend that money, you have to pay it every single season. And so, you can do a bit. You could certainly do a bit of money. The reality is, we can do 100 million for we can spend 100 million this summer before those sales. If you sell Bruno for 100, you can spend another 100. No doubt about that. And that's probably what they will do, is go spend at least another 100, if not a bit more. 50, you sell Garnacho, that will unlock they'll probably spend a bit more, based on that. So realistically, you could probably do 50% more than what you're selling them for in this one season, and that would be the right way to do it. So then the question was, so think about it like that. I would suggest, whatever we sell, we can spend a bit more than that because of the wages. Yes, because of the wages. The fee is one time, you count on all of that, but there are wages, and that allows you to do even a bit more than that. And remember, the fee is after the expenses and costs and things. Now, Angie, you said, James, I'm worried about one thing. I'm sure Ineos this year will more ruthless with the clear out, especially after last year, but getting too many players, getting 5 to 6 new starters almost always takes time to settle in. Right. I don't disagree with you at all. Yeah. So on the fees, I would say, probably take the fee and then add 50%. That's what we could probably spend because of wages and things like that. The 5 to 6 starters thing is, you're right. It takes a little bit of time to bed in, but we're 16th. As long as we have players who can score goals, we won't be 16th next season. Okay, everybody's pretty sure of that. Regardless, it's not like you haven't got some starters in place yet. Realistically, I would suggest, obviously Dorgu, Ahmad, um, Lenny Yoro. Your center backs, you're not likely to change too much. So your whole back five, three, and the wide players is likely to be the same players. Dorgu, Ahmad, Dallo. Now we could talk about that in a minute because I want to talk about the clear out. Is there a chance those players can leave? Yes. Let's talk about that in a second. But in the more likelihood of it, you're playing most of the same back five. Okay, you're playing most of the same back five or back three with the wing backs that you had this season for most of the year. Realistically, you're still going to have a couple of midfielders. The biggest change is probably goalkeeper, which will only give people confidence, and the front three is going to change dramatically in there. And then, of course, in the midfield. But the patterns out the back and things will likely be the same. This is why they need to get things done very, very early. This is why we need to move quickly. So that they have a preseason, so that they have time. But we also have a week in between most games for quite a while. So it's going to be, there's plenty of time on the training ground to resolve these issues and to get it in place. The other factor in, when you're getting people mixed up all together is PL experience. Exactly. If you're buying players with Premier League experience or system experience, it's a lot easier for them to bed in right away. Example, Cunha. Cunha can come in right away into the team, make an impact, play exactly in the role that we want, and will. He should fall right in almost immediately. If you get Jokeres, for example, he can fall in almost immediately into the exact role that you want. He knows the team, he knows the system. I think those things kind of matter. If there's a lot of players that can kind of fall right in where you don't have that much adjustment to it. There's a lot of plug and play players that are potentially available. Guys like Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro, probably key starters next season. Well, they get it. They get the system. They're the right footed. They're the right sides. One thing I did want to note that was a real positive to me is that Lenny Yoro in the final played on the right, did very well also. I don't think he has to play on the left. I think it helps us on the left because we haven't had others who can play competently on the left since Lissandro went down. But they're both, he can play on both sides, but I think that means ideally we can get Aiden Heaven on the left and we can have Lenny Oro on the right. In addition, obviously, to our other options and players that we have coming through, and that way we can get a lot of the natural angles in place. So there's going to be a lot of people who are experienced in this respect, and who are who can kind of bed right into the system and things. But look, it's going to be sure, no matter what, it's going to be some change. But I think this is also why Ruben Amorim says he's happy he came 6 months early despite everything that's happened, because he kind of knows who can do what. He kind of knows who can do what where, and what they mean, and he will get the ability to play with most of them for the preseason without needing to learn their position. The guys that are going to stick around. That being said, will Garnacho be in the squad tomorrow? No. There's already reports on that are accurate, as I understand it, that Garnacho would not be in the squad tomorrow. So, yeah, some LA Matthews wanted me to answer about Jokeres. I mentioned Jokeres for a second. I mentioned this morning. What I'm saying is that Jokeres deal is not like dead. United, I said that in a few days ago stream as well. United still want to pursue a move for Jokeres. They're still interested in it. Fabrizio confirmed that overnight as well. As far as I understand in a video, he said that it is still open. It is still not decided despite us missing out on Champions League from the Europa. And part of the reason we started pushing for that in general is because um, you know, it might fall into our lap a little bit. Um, because let's say, Arsenal are going for Sheshko, which apparently seems correct. Chelsea have other targets. Liverpool are wrapped up in Florian Wirtz. Um, and so it changes. It changes um, in that respect. That what his options are. And I think that it makes it that's why it's open, whereas before it might have been we need Champions League. We do need some money. The sale of Alvaro Fernandez might help that. Dwayne, get your 5 starters in the first half of the window, get the rest when it opens up again. Use the transfer window, break smartly. Sure. And we can also, again, use a smaller squad this year, right? Because we have fewer players. Now, on Garnacho's price, it is definitely lower than 60 what they will end up taking. It just is. It's definitely. Look, they're going to ask for 60, 70 million and all of that, but I am certain that it'll end up getting done quicker for lower than that. And I think that's part of the intention of all of this too. Put it out there. The Club World Cup is coming. Chelsea were kind of in for him. Chelsea were having talks in January. He was interested in the move to Chelsea at that time. What if they go for him and they throw 35 plus 15, 40 plus 10, something like that, at this point in the window, in that first week of June to try to get Garnacho in for the Club World Cup? Well, that might happen. That might happen. I would definitely not rule that out. That might be part of wanting to get this done, get this out there quickly, is for any teams that are looking to do that. There's a lot of money to be made by in that Club World Cup, and it's almost an insane amount of money. So, I think that that's a serious possibility, that something could get done there prior to the Club World Cup. So we'll have to find out what happens in that respect. But I do think that it'll be. I'm sure if someone comes in with a 50 million, then then if someone comes in with 40 plus 15 or 45 plus add-ons or something like that, it'll get done. And they will let him go. The difference I would say in this whole dispute, in this whole situation, is that he still played all year. He still played all year. There's people who wanted him based on his potential, based on what they saw from him as a footballer. Um, so the attitude things, all of that aren't really going to change. If they want him, they'll pay for him. They're not sitting there like it's not necessarily the type of signing anyone's making as like a bargain bin thing. If somebody wants Garnacho, they're looking at him for his potential. And so I don't think this issue really has much of an impact on it. We were not going to get 70, 80 million no matter what happens. Realistically, we should have taken the money in January, 40, 50 million and run at that time and made some signings. But I believe we can still get that now. Are there other players been dropped tomorrow? Yes. There's other players, there's other injuries been dropped, but I do think you'll expect to see a more senior squad tomorrow, not a bunch of kids. And I personally think that it's important for the players there to stand up and be counted in front of the crowd, and take responsibility for the season. You know, so that's important. Put Denzel Washington there. He knows how to negotiate. Okay, fair enough. I get that 60 million is asking price. I think it'll happen for less than that, but regardless, it's okay. It is what it is, my dudes. On Bruno. let's talk about Bruno for a minute. An interesting one on Bruno. Because United are considering it. He is thinking about it. Amorim obviously wants him to stay. No doubt about that. However, it's probably, as I've said before, in large part up to Bruno Fernandez. Garnacho's nickname in the squad is Gandalf because you shall not pass. Oh boy, good lord. That's a joke right there. I like it. With Bruno, it's really gonna be up to him, and I think his quotes even kind of indicated that as well, right? It's what does Bruno want? What does he want to do now? And kind of like we talked about, um, you know, kind of like we talked about in the in the past, like why wouldn't he want to leave at this point in time? What would be the thing that makes it so, you know, I guess that's my question. What would be the reason he'd want to stay? And kind of Amorim's been kind of hinting at that and everything, but that about fixing certain things and all of that. And I know that he's considering leaving. I know he's considering leaving, and I know that the club are considering the money. They might not. Um, they might not accept it in the end. We don't know yet. But the end result is on what is it, Friday, Monday rather. They have to give an answer by then. It hasn't been rejected. It hasn't been turned down, and all of that. But it is up to Bruno. It has to be up to Bruno. If he doesn't want it, they don't want to force him out. That doesn't really make sense. Offer me 700K a week. I'm out. No talking needed. Well, yeah. I mean, look. I think we did a poll yesterday. I was surprised it was this one-sided. It was like 83% said we should sell for 100 million. I think we should sell for 100 million. I think it's not wrong to consider this. I really don't. I do need glasses. Yeah, I sometimes I sit just slightly far away from my monitor, but I don't like wearing my glasses at my desk. But the thing is that again, it's like I would do it because it's really, really not wrong. No, don't show with the super chats. More money. Don't tell people to stop giving me money. No, but seriously, it's like, come on, like this is serious. This is serious money you're talking about. You're talking about a 96 million profit sale at that point in time. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. And you're talking about on top of that the wages of two solid starters on top of that. So in reality, you can sign, 2, 3 players of starter quality with that kind of money. I'm not saying star quality. I'm not saying you're going and getting the best players in the world, but you're getting 2 Cunhas for that money. That's the truth, okay? Now we're going to do that whole game again. But you are, and sometimes that's the right thing to do when you go to younger players. It will be reinvested. I can guarantee you that there's nobody sitting and taking the money from this stuff right now. It will be reinvested. They would buy. Saying, would you let Bruno leave for someone like Real or Bayern accept less money? No. I wouldn't accept 50. They need to pay 80, 90, 100 as well, Naveen, for sure. Because they're even should be more so. Saying I don't trust, like when you go, yeah, we should, but I don't trust them to buy good players. Well, then there's no point even having a conversation after that. That's why I don't like the takes on that, because it's like, well, then you've just basically said there's no point talking about anything. Because look, if we can't buy good players, it doesn't matter if Bruno stays or leave. We're never getting back to where we want to be, right? We're never getting back there. So it's like we might as well not talk at that point in time. And people are welcome to that opinion, but then you're not involved in the conversation. Because once you say that, it's like, what's the point? There's no point in any sort of discussion ongoing from the point in time, and we won't buy good players to replace him. All right, well, then we're not going to buy good players if he stays. We're not going to buy good players if he leaves. We're going to get relegated. Everything's screwed. There's nothing we can do. We might as well not discuss it. No videos, no tweets, no nothing. Just don't be involved. So I don't find that to be a helpful part of having conversations. That view on it, right? They have to get it right. They've got to buy the right players, no doubt about that. But we have to. Either way, we have to. And so the question is, if we're thinking we can build a team, then we have more money to build a team. Should we do it or not? Most people think yes. So I think so too. I think that 10 Dorgus. I mean, look, I would still take more Dorgus in the team. I truly don't care. I would take more Dorgus in the team. I'd rather have guys like Dorgu in the team that are physical, work hard, run, have qualities, help. Dorgu should have a lot more assists if we had a decent striker. It's like, you know, I'd love to do that. I'd love to get more of them. Not just those types of players, but I'd love to get more of them. But I'm telling you, if you can get me, with that money, one Dorgu, one Lenny, and one Xerxes, I'm happy. If you look at it on that quality, because that can build a team. That can build a team when you start doing that. When you start getting those kinds of players, those quality of players. We need to wake up. Liverpool buying Wirtz, Frimpong, Kirkes, probably striker and Tauber. We're not in the same atmosphere, man. We're not in the same air as them. We're not in the same world as them. I know there is a weird hate over every player we sign, but this is what happens, right? Like, this is what I don't understand. We've watched players come into United. We've watched players fail. We've watched managers fail. People will bring up, all this stuff like we were discussing earlier about Scott McTominay and stuff, and then they'll say we're never gonna buy good players. Well, because look at what the players we bought. Not, they were bad. Everybody's bad. Like, at some point you've got to be able to put like the pieces together on these conversations and say, all right, hold on a second. Let's just pause and slow down for a minute. Figure out your stance. Is your stance that we can buy good players and then they leave and they're good, but they're here and they're bad, but then we bought good players, so we should be able to buy more good players? Or is the stance that everybody sucks, everybody who's at United sucks, and when they leave they suck? I don't know, man. It's just circular. There's a lot of circular logic. Liverpool comparison, we didn't even try words. Yeah, we were not even close to. We're not even in the same thing. They also paid 80 million for Darwin Nunez not that long ago. So, you know, it is what it is. How good is Howard Nurse? He used to be the editor at BBC. He's always been kind of a funny one who would just kind of pop up with some random stuff. Why did he say something? Anyway, it all just really, really, really gets very, very circular on these discussions. The fact of the matter is, even under the Glazers, we had 6 years before Bruno. We won a Europa League, we won an FA Cup, we won 2 League Cups. We got into top 4 most seasons, or at least half of the seasons. We never missed on Champions League 2 years in a row, I think, or something like that. Post Bruno, it hasn't been much different. Plenty of teams, plenty of players, plenty of clubs are able to get past losing big players. We didn't have Bruno before. If we move on beyond Bruno, it is what it is. It happens. We built teams that were just as successful, if not more successful, pre-Bruno, even having any professionals in the building. So it's like, whatever, man, we'll move on. We can find, if we have to, we will move on and we will find more talent. I don't get into the gimmick of we can't get good players. I also don't get into the gimmick that we didn't buy good players, because I think there's clearly good players and good value in what we bought. And I think, like I said, I rate Lenny Yoro really highly. I think Xerxes for the money will end up being a very good squad player at worst. Um, I always forget one person. Yeah, I think Delict and Ugarte are around the same. I think Mazraoui for the money is great, and I think Dorgu's good, and Lenny was obviously a stud. But I think it's great. I think we'll be fine. It's certainly better than 60 million for Onana, 72 million for Rasmus Højlund. I'll tell you that much, and 65 million for Mount. Samik's football. Is there a world where we get at least 5 or 6 with none being cheaper than 25 million euros? I don't mind 2 cheap players, but we need 5 players. But yeah, there is a world with that, right? There is a world with that. There definitely is a world with that, because if you look at what we're doing now, um, if you look at what we're doing right now, you take Cunha, right? So that's one of those players. Yeah, his tweet, Sean Connolly says Manchester United officials have retained hopes of acquiring 55 million to 60 million for the player in January. Talks will be entertained for less with a considerable sell-on fee, not expected to be involved. And it's around there. I think we'll end up with a little less, but it's around there. Um, but yeah, look, um, can we get 5 players where none are cheaper? Yeah, like, can we get 5 serious individuals, right? Well, yeah. So you take um, Cunha, you take Delap or Gokerish. Obviously, they both fall into that category. I think whatever midfielder we get is going to be significant at this point in time. If we move on Bruno, we're obviously going to need to go for that third forward, who I think we're going to want someone significant. Mastantuono or João Pedro or Mbumo or somebody like that. So there's your 4, and then the last one is keeper. Now, the keeper might be under 25. But I don't know that particularly matters. They're going to be around that price, but they're a keeper. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think so. And then I think we could get a couple young players, affordable players on top of that, as well in addition. So yeah, that's okay. Definitely. Um, but yeah, I mean, where was I at? We will spend the money. And the other thing on the squad in terms of sales is there's potentially a lot more sales than what we're just talking about in terms of Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, and them, right? The truth about it, like when you see these reports, like everybody's for sale, right? Everybody's for sale. Everybody could go, all of that kind of stuff. And I've said that before. It's like, look, everybody's for sale and everything. But the truth of the matter is, there's a difference, all right? And I want to define the difference between the types of players, okay? It's not Bruno for João Pedro. It's not Bruno for João Pedro. That's not what I said. Anyway. There's differences in the attitude and the approach to players that are in the team. Here's the players we want to sell. We want to actively find buyers for them. We want to move them. We don't want them here. They're not going to be a part of the team any longer. We're actively attempting to sell them. And there's players that you look at and they'll look at and say, if the player wants to leave, they're willing to. And they're willing to set a reasonable fee for them. Okay? So we could have sold Garnacho and trying to get Kavar. Yeah, that could have happened in January if we had just that. And I think that's a huge mistake. They should have just done it. But nobody gets to criticize them for that, because people are losing their fucking shit over the concept of us selling Garnacho in January. Good load that did for us. Regardless, but yes, I wish we had done something like that. Not that I know if Kvaratskhelia would have made it here or not, to be honest, or if we could have picked them or not, but who knows. Regardless, yeah, there's 2 different types here. And then there's the types where if they want the move and they want to accept an offer, that a reasonable price will be set for them, okay? And that is almost everybody. There is a price for nearly everybody. And so the wording on that, I would say, is, are they willing to sell them? Yes. They're not actively seeking out offers for them. They're not trying to sell them. They don't want to move them on. But if the player says, hey, I've got an offer from, Bayern, 60 million, does that fee work for you? I want to take it. If it does, if it matches their valuation, they'll just let it go. They'll say, sure, go ahead and raise the money. Now, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen once we sell some big players and move a lot of money on, will they start to raise the prices of the remaining players? And does that change? But I think the point right now is they will do whatever is necessary to really essentially rebuild the damn thing. You know what I mean? To fully do that. And it's like we're not attached to anybody beyond the guys who are, they're going to be willing. There's the guys they got to sell. And then there's the guys that they could because we want more money, and they're really not attached to the core of this team. And to a degree, I think that we're probably overdue. Stagnation is real. Sometimes you just have to freshen things up and start a new cycle one way or another. In a similar way, I know Liverpool have a few players who are obviously the same in there, but the same way they did in their midfield and in a few other places, the same way that Madrid do every once in a while, they'll just reshuffle and recycle their team, the same way that, Barcelona did post Messi, took them a little bit. The same way that a lot of things have happened. But they are willing, and I do think it's not the wrong time to do this, to make a difference. He dropped he left a video about United Revolution. Well, this is what I'm talking about right now. We've had some really good time stuff today. I was literally talking about Garnacho and getting to the list of players, and then this morning's video, while I was about to discuss Garnacho, then Ornstein's thing comes out saying that he's been kicked out of the team. And now I'm literally talking about how we could essentially revolutionize the team, rip it up, rebuild it. They're not attached. They're happy to reset things overall. And Fabrizio drops a video here. United Revolution, Amorim, Wirtz, Steele, Garnacho, Ten Hag, Romero. If anybody wants to watch that while I'm live here and tell me if Fabrizio says anything of interest, whether it aligns with what we're talking about or not, then let me know, because I think Fabrizio has I mean, it's not for me to obviously approve Fabrizio Romano, but I think he's very obviously got an incredible, finger on the pulse of where United are at. And a lot of his info has lined up with mine on certain things. And I think that is good. I think that's a very, very good thing. I think that is good. I like to see that when that happens. The stuff on the keeper, the stuff on Ruben Amorim, the stuff on Garnacho, all of that. It's all kind of coming together. The stuff on the striker, on Gyökeres and all of that. It's all kind of, it's aligned. I'm very happy when it aligns with people who I know things. That's very good. Faisal, is Mike Mañana still a realistic target? I do not know. That was one that I'm really curious about because I saw the report on that. Obviously, we've been talking about keepers all year. Obviously, Mike was somebody United had been looking at for years. We had tons of links to him, but he was so expensive at the time. Now, as far as I can see, he's really injury prone. That's a bit of an issue. The 3 forwards, yeah. He wants players like passion. Well, did you watch my video this morning about attitude? And I said that attitude, physicality, athleticism would be the things that they were most focused on in the market. There you go. Attitude. He wants to win with this club and he trains and behaves at a high level here. He needs to do that. That's what he says. So that's what Fab is saying. He wants players like passion. Same words, Italian, American, attitude, passion, same thing. That's what we're talking about. Players who are playing for the team, players who are playing to try to win for the group. Magnan, he only missed 2 days this season, 2 games this season. Last season he missed like 10. That's a lot for a keeper, to be fair. 10 games. He missed 31 games the prior season, so he's had some rough seasons injury wise. Character, yeah, character's a good word for that too. But attitude is everything. It's really funny. I'm showing my, I'm talking like an old person now. But when I was growing up, there was a um, there was a commercial that always stuck with me from Andre Agassi, the tennis player. It was advertising a watch or something like that. And I always remember because, Agassi, not Agassi, Andre Agassi, I think. If you remember him, because I watched a lot of tennis growing up as well, but for some years, and then it faded out like most sports, and everything was replaced by football, which I regret to this day, for my mental health. But an ad for a watch, and he was known as an attitude guy, and that was like the headline for the ad was attitude is everything, and it always sticks out in my mind when I'm talking about like athletes and players and things like that. But that is essentially the line from for this summer from what they want to recruit, who they want. um attitude attitude, passion. Not said anything new. Garnacho expected to leave, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fair enough. Hush it, Issa. Hush it. You don't start with me. Don't start with me. No real update. Okay, thank you guys. Well, so like me. Okay. Yeah, Andre Agassi and Pete Sampras and yeah. Um, but yeah, those back in those days, the attitude era of tennis was a good time. Um, until it was taken over by Federer and everybody, and I lost interest a little bit. But not saying, yeah, I'm not gonna get into tennis discussions. I don't know shit about tennis anymore at all. Um, so yeah. Um, anyway, regardless, it is about attitude. It's about everything. Um, they want people in who have that passion, who have that desire, who have that, that that push to be better, to be great. That's what they want. So that's what they're going for there. But this is the thing. And so they're willing to sell lots of players. Like, look, the truth of the matter is, like I said, it's about what the players want. Everybody's got a price, man. And I do mean players you would not believe have a price um, because if they want to, but there is a difference, right? If they want to is the difference. They're not going to push a lot of these players out. LVG called it being well, correct. Yeah, being horny. I mean, it's like everybody has a different way of expressing it, of explaining it. Cold-chested versus warm-chested players. There's all sorts of things. Ways that it can be explained. Through different cultures and things. But yeah, it's a right attitude matters. So there's a lot. Oh man, there's a lot of potential change in the works. Look, you take someone like Kobe Mainu, like I've said before. Um, they don't want him to go. Jonathan Hammond with another donation. Big up, James. Thank you, Jonathan, for being everywhere all at once. Appreciate that. So they're looking at those types of guys, mad dogs. Yeah, I'm a die for my club dog. Yeah, we do. We do. That's what we need. I want guys who are killers, man. I really, really do. I'm so tired. I mean, we've talked about this before. I'm so tired of waking up, watching games. I'm going to wake up and be doing watch longs at 6:45 on a fucking Wednesday for these Asian preseason games. For why? I'm going to do it, but for why? I don't expect half the players to even care. I mean, look, it's preseason and all of that, but it feels like it's that way in other games too. So often 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., I'm waking up to watch a game and they're just why, man? They look like me, bleary, getting out of bed, barely trying, all of that. I don't like that. I don't like that. So I want people who are serious. I want serious people to be playing for our club, and that's going to be important. Can youth play in those games? Yeah, some of them will. Some of the youth will travel, and hopefully they'll get a shot in those games. Hopefully they will. What do you mean be racist the preseason game? What are you even talking about racist? They're Asian games. The games over in Asia. If they were in Africa, they'd be African preseason games. But they're oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying like I'm being racist by calling them preseason games. Okay, fair enough. They don't matter because they're preseason. Okay. Fair enough. You got me. 2 a.m. club, 4 a.m. club. Yeah, it's more like postseason. Yeah, they go off on their holidays after that. Yep. Yep. No, and it's a good thing to do. I think the tours are important. I think that the preseason games are important. Obviously, they're going to come to America again. I'm going to go see them in person. I think that's important. But, it's a lot of effort people put into these things, and I wish people would follow it. I wish the players would put that kind of effort in. But yeah, look, I mean, end of the day, I can do a little lineup thing if you guys want on everything. But partially it's like oh, sorry, I was talking about Kabi Menu. I was talking about Kabi Menu. I was talking about Kabi Menu, and what I was saying is that the intention is for him to stay, for him to work, for him to improve on athleticism, for him to improve on his physicality and find his way into the team. Almost all the United journalists come to the U.S. tour, by the way. Yes. That's the intention. But what if he doesn't want to? I wouldn't be happy with that. I think that Kabi Menu at 20 should be willing to say, I need to put the work in to find my way in this team. And I really don't think that's wrong. I really don't think that that's wrong. No matter what you think, I'm always surprised when I think people kind of see it the other way. Like, well, you got to build around that. No, like the player's got to find a way to work his way in at 20. And so will they sell him? No, they're not going to force Kabi Manu out. Does he want to put the work in to find his place in the team? Does he want to put the work in to become more athletic, more robust, more durable? To really nail down a position? Does he want to? That's the question. If he doesn't, can he be sold? Yes. But that's on him. That's on him. That's on nobody else. And that's where I go, it's kind of a shame, the clubs being blamed for these types of things. I don't think it's particularly fair to blame them, because when you understand kind of what's going on behind the scenes and all of that, like, no, we are not in a situation where we need to build our team around 19 and 20-year-olds, and we shouldn't be doing that. There's no evidence that that's the right way to go. There's no evidence that the right way to go. They find their way, and then they get in there, and they figure it out. Yeah, I don't think Manu and Garnacho are like best buddies or anything. But it's like that's what it means, getting the right mentality in the team, getting the right mentality in the squad. Getting the right, group together where everybody is, pushing the same direction, and it's not about the individual. It's not, oh my God, how many minutes did I get this year? But are you helping? Are you helping? Are you getting it done? And I'm personally, I still think Kabi's skill set works, because I think, again, he's excellent on the ball, which is a quality we lack practically everywhere, and is something that is supposedly a hallmark of Amorim teams. Being quality on the ball, in the dribble, against the press, being able to evade the tackle, carry it up the pitch. These are things I think he's really good at, and he could do. But, I don't think that it's even like, I genuinely don't think like Kabi, until he's fully fit and athletic, I don't actually think there is a system for Kabi. It doesn't particularly make sense to me. There's plenty of managers who play a 4-2-3-1. We've been through like 5 of them. And he would have the same problems in a 4-2-3-1 as he would in this system. Maybe in a flat 3 in a certain way, but even then, like we were saying the other day, you got to be more athletic and more physical. You wouldn't make it in Liverpool's midfield. You probably wouldn't make it in City's right now. But that can be that can be improved, and that he can work towards. Um, so we'll get there. We'll get there. So, again, the way I looked at it is like if we go back to the squad thing and talk about potentially people being sold and the amount of money, when you talk about, well, what could you do, if you didn't have, let's assume good news. We get Jokeres or Delap or something, right? Let's just assume that for a minute, okay? Um, let's just assume, that this is a that this is what we have right now. Cunha and Mastantuono should be our priorities. I agree, Anthony. I love those types of players. I think Mastantuono would be the best for the long term to bring in. But let's assume we could do this. Because someone was saying, well, what, you sell Bruno, you only get like a João Pedro or something, you're screwed. Well, not really. That's not really the case. I mean, let's say you make the moves on the keeper. We'll just toss Mike in here since he's the most recent link from out of nowhere. We're just doing this for right now. I'm just putting in the players that I believe will still be here by next season. Okay. So, because you want to talk about how do we rebuild, the midfield and stuff. Well, here's a question for you. Okay. Look, if you moved on Bruno and were able to spend some serious money, what could you do? All right. Well, maybe that means you can go, Mbumo and Mastantuono, and then you're selling Garnacho, so you can throw in, Ederson and Ugarte or something like that. You know what I mean? But I would take a team like this. I'm not quite positive that the balance of this is right for what it's worth, but it's an interesting concept. There's different players. I'm only using ones we've linked. I'm sure there are different players that we could go with. Um, uh, Ederson was the second choice to the summer for, yes, if they didn't get McAllister. I know, and I think he'd be perfect in the team as well. But this would be good, and then Cobby can get in here as well. I'm not gonna listen to people who don't like Ederson because I think he's very, very good. But yeah, I mean, no, I don't think Mastantuono has to start it. I don't even think he starts where he is. He wouldn't start it anywhere else he's going in Europe as well. Um, but there's more. I mean, this is only 110, 160. I mean, it's a lot. It's like 220, right? But if you were selling Bruno, you were selling Garnacho, and you're selling all these players, you could do more than this. Um, I'm just not sure what, because we just don't have the links at this point in time to be serious. We do have other links in here. Maybe you would go like Yao Pedro or something. Somebody mentioned that there's something weird around things that I'm not aware of this myself, so I apologize in general because I'm not trying to be problematic, but like I know that mount there is not necessarily a good thing. But remember, we're only playing a game a week right now. That there's something weird with João Pedro, but I'm just avoiding it because I don't know anything about it. The French Magic Mike in goal, 10 more clean sheets. Fair enough. Fair enough. This wouldn't be a done team. You're talking about a step in the direction towards where you want to go. Yeah. Would Ederson and Mbumo come to us with no Champions League? I think the similar question with like a Jokeres is like, what happens? What happens to them? Where else are they gonna go? Someone like that. Like, is somebody else gonna buy him? Um, is somebody else going to come in for him? We don't really know. We don't have the answer to that as of yet. And it could be that it just falls into place. I think we have a good chance of convincing players anyway. But who's for sure buying him? This, to me, what I like about it is that from a purely football standpoint, yeah, I don't know anything about personality, all right? From a purely football standpoint, because I don't know anything about him, from a purely football standpoint, you have Premier League proven, Ederson is not, but he's had some really damn good games straight into the system. The adjustments are very, very minor, and I think that would be cool. I would happily take Yeoman, by the way, from Sporting, for what it's worth. For people have mentioned it in the past. We looked at him in the past. We liked him in the past, but the concern was over his ability to adapt to the pace of the Premier League. But he is a very, very good midfielder. Is Yeoman. Dates a 15-year-old. That's what I'm referencing. I don't want to say anything about it because I don't know anything about it. I don't know any of the reality about it. That's all. I don't know. So I hear you. It doesn't seem like it's a problem for everybody else, but that doesn't make it okay. For sure. Would I prefer something like this? Yes. Do I think that you buy Mbumo and Mastantuono? Not really. Players that I do think will still be here. I think that Ahmad will be at a price. I think that Ahmad doesn't want to leave, and so I don't think he will. I think Dallo will be here. He's somebody very well respected in the team. I think Lenny Yoro will be here. I think Heaven will be here. I think Maguire will be here. Unfortunately, I think Onana is going to be here. Now, I got words for Mr. Eric Ten Hag, okay? I've got more words for Mr. Eric Ten Hag. You came to Manchester United and you made us buy your boy, your keeper, your guy for 60 million. Maston starts now, and honestly, he might be, okay? He might be. But you made us buy your boy for 60 million, okay? You made us. Now, you're going to Leverkusen. You need a keeper. Come get him. Come get him. 30 million. Special price. He's yours. Cut price deal. 30 million. Take him. And if he doesn't come in for some of these guys that he loaded up on our club, that is seriously criminality of the highest order. Anthony, Onana, take some of them. You like Garnacho so much? Take him. You're going to be flush with cash. Okay? Take him. Take him. Take them all. Take all these people you really like. Yeah, there was a link to Sancho to Bayer Leverkusen, which I mentioned in my video this morning, and I said, and then like as I posted it, he's going to, and I was like, yeah, that's not happening. Like take him. Take him 2-3 years, Dagestan, and forget. Get gone. Go. Bring him out, Maybe he can help take some of this. Bro, he bought guys from his agency and made money. I know. Do it again. Launder those players back over to Leverkusen now. They're going to have 200 million in the bank. Come on, man. We'll give you half price on a lot of these guys. Half price. You can have Onana, Garnacho, and Anthony, 80 million all in. Take them. 80 million, maybe 90 million, all in. Take them. Take them. I'd be happy with that. Just take them. But they better come in for some of these. There's no way he loaded us up wanting to be sporting director with all these talents, and then he goes to Leverkusen and decides he doesn't want any of them. He better be taking some of them. Better be taking some of them. Yeah, you want to pay 50 million for Martinez? I don't say no, but I do like Martinez. And Højlund. No, Højlund. I've got another buyer in mind, a certain John Murtaugh, who's gone and been hired at Atalanta. You rated him so much, 72 million you wanted for him at the time. You paid for him. Surely you would be willing to buy him at a bargain deal of 40 million. This is a one-time offer for you, Mr. Murtaugh. Bring him home to Atalanta where he shines. 40 million, that's all we need. That's all. It's okay. Special deal. He's a 72 million player. That's why you bought him for that. Come on, man. You got it. Take him home. Take him home. Take him home. Anyway. Yeah. I did rate Højlund. Not at 72 million. Not at 72 million. Good Lord. I remember like the day, the day we, uh, the day it was coming out, I was still being told like United were not expecting to pay over 40 to 50 for him. And then it was like, boom. And there was other people too. I think like there was other guys that were like, I think even Ornstein like the day before was like, it's going to be 50 million, that they want to pay. And then the next day it was 72. And we were like, well, how did the price go up? In the last day, we were almost like, it was like close on 50 at 50 or something. There was like reports it was close at 50. And then the next day it was 72. What the fuck happened? What happened? How? How'd you manage that? How did it go from 50 to 72 overnight? What happened? This is like money laundering. I want investigations being done. Yeah, it was like being slightly raised and then bam, it was 72 million. And we were like, what? And apparently that's literally what happened. In the middle of the night, they just agreed to 72 million after everybody was briefed it was like 50 million. What the fuck happened? It's crazy. That is wild, man. I just cannot believe that happened. I remember being shocked. I was like taking a shower and then my phone buzzed and I finished the shower and it was like 72 million. And I was like, wait, what? It took me a moment. This has become an infomercial. I'll sit there. I will sell our players, okay? I will sell them. Special deals. 2-for-1 prices. We'll get them done. Anyway, yeah, look, I there's other potential names and things like that, obviously. We want 3 forwards. We've talked about that. If we sell Bruno, we probably want 4. My question would be, I don't know who else could we get to add. I do want to address one point that I do think is funny, and I'm not going to be mean about this because a lot of good people have made this point, but I do want to mention it for a second, okay? I've seen a lot of concerns about United moving Garnacho on and not having wingers, only having Ahmad. Now, here's the thing I want to say. Respectfully, of course. Manchester United sold Ronaldo in, what was the original year? 2010 or 09? Manchester United have not had wingers for 16 years. This isn't new. Forget Amorim for a second. We have not had wingers for 16, 17 years. We have not played with wingers. We didn't play with wingers often before that. At times we did, and at times we didn't. We haven't played with wingers for a long time. This is not new. This is not a surprise. This is not a problem that has not been there before. We spoke all the time. Yeah, sure, buddy. We spoke all the time about not having wingers for a right winger for like the better part of 12 years. Marcus Rashford is no more winger than Cunha is. And he did fine in a back 4 system. It's in the fridge, bud. It's up.
Does it look like a Starbucks logo?
Oh, it looks like it just looks like a glass with like a flower on it, yeah. We have an academy full of good wingers too. Yeah, we do have a number of them there. But the truth is, yeah, most of our strikers played off the wide areas and had pace. You're correct about that, but they weren't wingers. We had a few, but there was not a lot. Both Valencia and Ashley Young got converted to fullbacks. Both of them got converted to fullbacks, so it wasn't like they were crazy. A lot of them started to there. Okay. All right, and then close the door on your way out. Yeah, there's not a lot of them. We've just not had a lot. We've not had a ton. Martial was a striker that we moved to winger and then back to striker. Depay. These were not really wingers, man. Most of these were central players. We've been missing them for a long time. We bought a couple and then they ended up leaving, But like when I say not wingers, I'm saying they're no less wingers than we have now, you know? Depay converted into a striker. Di Maria did. He lasted one season. They're no less wingers than we have right now. They're basically the same. I mean, Cunha is the same amount of winger that Rashford was, so it's not much different. Garnacho was, yes, a classic kind of winger, but not that much more. It just changed. It really changed. It's been a long time since we've really played like wide wingers. So Sancho was supposed to be the answer, and then that didn't happen. No, we really have. When the last time we actually played like touchline left and right wingers, tell me what year that we actually did that at all in the last like 15 years when we played like serious touchline wingers. Dan James, yep, and then we sold him 1 year later, right, or 2 years later, whatever it was. We bought a few here and there, and then we sold them. We had a few, but they were bad. We never really like did it. We never really put wingers in place. Shaw's a winger. He loves wings. Yeah. Ahmad is as much a winger as we've ever had in the last 15 years. Yeah, Giggs, of course, I understand. But I'm talking like in the post-Fergie era, we haven't really played with wingers like at all. Very briefly, yeah, Young and Nani back in 2013, and then they both converted into fullbacks. Not Nani, sorry. Valencia converted into fullback. Nani was a classic winger for sure. We've just had very few. I mean, we just have. We've had very few wingers over the years. We've never been sitting there going, well, we've got like, all right, let me ask you a different question. When's the last time we had wingers in the squad worth building around? Where you'd say, well, we don't want to get rid of those or we won't have wingers in the team. Oh, those are our starting forwards, those wingers. When's the last time we had wingers in the team that you would say those are your guys? Did we do it under Eric? No, see, that's the crazy part. In Eric's first season, Rashford played close to the striker, narrow. And then we had Antony way out wide. We had one winger. Scored a ton of goals. And then he moved him out wide last season, and it went to shit. Okay? It's been a long time since we've played with wingers really to the level that we would need to. Dwayne, when we get wingers, we say he's only kick and run. I don't disagree with you. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Don't you think that's also in part because the winger position has changed a lot from 15 years ago? It has. It has. It for sure has. There's not even that many classic wingers. A lot of them are guys like Cunha. They play more narrow at times. Rashford's not a winger. He's not a winger in the same way. I mean, even if you look at how he plays for Aston Villa, it's the same thing. He plays almost off the striker. You know what I mean? He plays almost off the striker very, very, very much when he was playing at Aston Villa. It's been that way for quite a long time. A lot of narrow forwards. And we've had a few here and there, but we've had a lot of narrow forwards. Garnacho and Ahmad are wingers. There's no doubt about that. Garnacho and Ahmad are wingers, right? Wingers are all opposite-footed cut inside now, right? That's true too. But Garnacho and Ahmad are definitely wingers. There's no doubt about that. Ahmad, that's why Ahmad should be at the right wing back position. It's called right wing back for a reason. The first two words of that are right wing. But regardless, like we haven't had a ton of them. It really didn't. Yeah, wing backs are modern wingers, agreed. And so we need them. We need them, but we haven't really had them for a long time. Like to play that way, and a lot of teams don't really play with classic wingers anymore. It's kind of unusual in general. It's kind of unusual in general. But my point being is that if you're going to make the differentiation where you're saying, well, Cunha's not a winger, Mbeumo wouldn't be a winger, if you're going to make that differentiation and say those guys aren't wingers, then we're getting down into the nitty gritty where we haven't had wingers for ages. If you're all right, just like being more like general with it. You can call Cunha a left winger. You can call Mbeumo a right winger. You can call Rashford a left winger. But then it's not a problem. We won't have any fewer wingers than we've had for the last 10, 15 years, frankly. Valencia would have been class. Yeah, he would. He would. He was a tank. He was a tank. Um, um, yeah, I liked Valencia a lot. I really did. Who's the most likely forwards we sign? Well, definitely Cunha and one of Gyökeres or Delap. After that, it's up in the air for that third one. I'm still not sure, but we have links to Mastantuono, to Mbeumo, to Dorgelis, to João Pedro. Yeah, City's Sterling, Sane probably, Mahrez, and now they're different. Doku's is probably a winger, to be fair. Doku's probably a bit of a winger to be fair. Mullock says we want 40 million for Anthony and Batiste can't afford, but Atletico are monitoring it. Well, that's fine. I think 30 million, 35 million will probably cut it, but yeah, we'll see. Obviously there's more options. Batiste, the problem is always the fee with them, but you never know. Is Twitter down? Hopefully not again. Good God, it's been down like 90% of the time for the last like 3-4 days. Jack Grealish leaving. What do you guys think? Jack Grealish? Jack Grealish? Would you take him? Savinho? Yeah, they do have a couple wingers now. I would say that City have often played with wingers. Sane, Sterling, Mahrez, Savinho, Doku. I would certainly consider them wingers, yeah. Like 5 years ago. I love to bring up Jack Grealish, but Pep ruined him, didn't he? He killed him. He killed him. He killed him. But left 10, backup left 10. He's got the dribble. He's better in those areas. He's a creative. I'm just saying. Grealish is an older guy. Nah, I mean that's an insult to Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish accomplished great things when he was young for Aston Villa. Jack Grealish was let's not downplay Jack Grealish's career. What he did for Aston Villa was incredible. It really was. It was special. I mean, that is a special thing. And now look where they are. Look at where they are now. He pushed them. He is a big reason for them being where they are today. I'm just saying, you got to give him credit for that. Don't compare him to. Don't insult him like that. Grealish was a damn good player for what he did for Aston Villa. Obviously I'm mostly teasing, on what Pep did to him. I think is crazy, like how he cut him down. But what he did at Villa was awesome. I loved to watch him at Aston Villa. It was so cool, and he looked like the type of player that should be at a team like United back then. He really did. But the move to City was. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It didn't make any sense to me. You take the guy who needed to be the guy in a certain way and put him and try to make him into a robot. That's wild. That's wild. But it is what it is. Yeah, let's see. Regardless, what are we doing? Last thing, obviously, we were talking about Bruno. I already spoke about that a while ago. I think if there's anything else, otherwise we'll probably end it for today. But yeah, we don't know. We don't know. That's how I got to Jack Grealish. I was just talking about the random different names and things. If we did sell Bruno, it would enable us to buy probably 4 forwards total, another midfielder, and all of that. But we don't have to. We don't have to necessarily. We don't have to. I obviously, if we had loads of money, I would probably go for Adam Wharton, but I just don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible. I don't think anybody could buy him this summer with them being in Europe and stuff. Because you could definitely enhance the midfield like that. Balaba would be the same issue, right? Though you're going to be 80 to 100 million for someone like that. Wharton is not an athlete. That's a consideration. I mean, I think he's so good that you should get him, but I do understand that he's not naturally the exact fit for this midfield. You certainly have to put a major athlete next to him, but I think he'd be 100 million. But let's do another season, I think, for him. Look, if you buy Ederson this year, which I really like, then next year, if you get Wharton, then you have a perfect midfield pairing at that point in time. So you could give it another season. We're seeing Hackney and Ederson stats. Hackney's so good. Hackney is so good. And if we wanted to shop in the market, down, we could go for Hackney. Now he's not the most athletic player, but god damn, he is good on the ball. He is so good on the ball. He solves so many problems on the ball. But I'm not sure that's the midfield we want moving forward. I don't think Stiller's on anybody's radar, to be quite honest. Not that he shouldn't be. Like on ours, is what I mean. Not anybody's. I think that Chris Rigg will be way too expensive, unfortunately, especially with Sunderland coming up. Congratulations to them. Another serious institution that is an indication of how far you can fall back in the Premier League. And now serious once again institution, we should say, with history. Madueke. I would take Madueke. Does Ederson complement Ugarte? Yeah. I hope Kabi can get his physical attributes better during preseason. Yeah, I agree. I think he's got the dribbling to do it as well. Yeah. Tyler Dibbling, the problem is he's going to be like 100 million, right? Like, here's the thing. Yeah, they really like Dibbling. If you brought Dibbling in, he's a perfect fit that you can move Ahmad or him around. But he's just so expensive. Like, do you really want to pay 80 million for Tyler Dibbling? It just seems ridiculous. If they could get him for 50, I bet you they would though. Like if we have the money and we could get Dibbling for 50, I mean that's a thing. Like let's say we didn't sell Bruno. Mbumo, Eze, Cunha, João Pedro are the type of 10s we should look to. Physical and technical. Jokeres, Mateta, Wissa over Delap. Yeah, I agree with all your names there, to be fair. Yeah, like if you could get Dibbling for a right price, they probably would like to run something like that. And you wouldn't even have to sell Bruno if you could get him at 40 to 50 million. You could sell Garnacho and you could get Dibbling. Then you'd have Bruno, Dibbling and Ahmad can swap around in these positions and things. That gives you a lot more flexibility. It's actually a good move, but yeah. But yeah, there's no way we should be paying more than 40 million for him. Well, yeah. Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, look, he's a player viewed with very, very high potential. There's no doubt about that. And that's like dictating some of the price. But yeah, you guys didn't like my saying I'd take Madueke. That's fine. I probably shouldn't say I'd take Madueke because I wouldn't take him for much. I think he's okay. Are we still in for youth signings? Yes. Semenyo right wing back. See, that's an interesting question. Because we do have solid links to Semenyo. If we sold Bruno and Garnacho, Semenyo has to be a wing back. As a wing back, I know maddening end product, but I think if you put him as a wing back, then he can do his best work. I still think 70 is an insane price for him. But Semenyo is a no. Look, I have the concerns I have with Semenyo, the same as I've mentioned many times with Garnacho. He's a poor shot conversion, high volume shooter. But if you put him out on wingback, what is he actually genuinely very good at? Let's look at what he's actually good at. He does a lot of defensive work. He carries the ball well. Oh, this is bright. Does he win his duels? That's the question I want to know. He's a very good dribbler, right? So you're talking about a big, tall, fast player who could play out wide on either side, frankly. But you could play out wide. Who'd be a good wing back. I wouldn't pay 70 million for him though. That's the issue. He's both footed. It even says it right here. I wouldn't pay 70 million for him though. I wouldn't pay 70 million. I would pay 50 at most, 40 to 50. He's an upgrade, but it's just so expensive. I think you could swap these around, to be fair. Like, obviously not the backup, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think we don't know. What we're working on is let's end it here and summarize it in this basis because we've talked about a lot of stuff. Most duels won in the Premier League this season. 416, Antoine Semenyo. I love a duel winner, man. You know me. I'm all about that life. But let's kind of end it here in this kind of summary, okay? Let's end it here in this kind of summary. We know we're going to have Cunha done. We know we're going for a striker. We're still trying for Gyökeres. We know we want to make a minimum of 3 signings. The big question now and the big thing we're working on now is moving players out and raising more money. The thinking about Bruno, he's got to talk about it. It's up to him. Every player has a price. Garnacho is kicked out. We're working on selling a lot of them. I think we'll get Antony sold pretty soon. I think we'll get Rashford sold pretty easily as well. Sancho, we'll see. Garnacho, we're going to see if we can get something done early in maybe for the Club World Cup. Chelsea will come in for him. I would say closer to 50 million than the quoted prices out there. And we'll see what we have about Bruno by Monday in terms of the deadline for that Saudi offer. Raise money. Then we'll probably start to hear more about extra forwards, but we want a minimum of 3, more if we move on Bruno Fernandez, and more if other players depart in that sense. For tomorrow's game, I want to tell you something else. Okay? I want to make it again very clear as I do all the time. We want a keeper. You will see. We want a keeper. I think tomorrow will be really interesting. Again, I don't think it's going to be a ton of youth. I think it's going to be players who need to be there to stand up and be counted. As we've seen from some reports, Alejandro Garnacho not expected to be in the squad. There are likely going to be other players dropped from the starting lineup. There are also, unfortunately, other injuries that are not so stoked about. But there are other players who are likely to not be in the team. But I do got to tell you, we want to keep her. We really want to keep her. Okay. So I'm interested in the links that have popped up recently to João Pedro as well as Maignan because we want players in these positions. So if we start to make little initial contacts, that might be further clues of names to get added to our list. But we're going to need to wait until we make some sales to find out more. And until the striker situation is settled. Okay, I'll be back in the morning for a pre-match and then a watch along for the game against Aston Villa. Thanks for hanging out with me this Saturday evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Yeah, have a good day. Thanks for being here. Make sure on your way out, click the like button. Please click, click, click. Let's get it to 500. We've got over 1,100 people in here. Please, yeah, do that. That helps me quite a lot. So thank you, and I will see you all later. Have a good one, everybody.